Welcome to Module 2 of Supercharge Your Advertising. In this module, we'll look at how we're going to attract your ideal customers. And for that, we'll need a great headline. Before we start working on our headline, however, there are a few things we need to have in mind. Firstly, we're all bombarded with thousands of ad messages every day and we tune them out. We stop looking at ads and often don't even notice them unless we're specifically interested in that subject for some reason. And as advertisers, we need to understand the implications of that. To get our ads noticed, we need to interrupt what people are thinking about. And we do that by being very specific about what we're offering and to whom. It is almost impossible to get noticed when you're offering everything to everybody, as those ads in the classified section were that I showed you in video 1. So what we need to do is be very specific, both on what we're saying and who we're saying it to. Okay, so why is a headline so important? Don't most people use the name of their company as a headline in their ad, you might ask? The answer to that is yes, they do, and that is one of the reasons press advertising often doesn't deliver the results it could. A headline has to do several things. Firstly, it is an ad for your ad. It doesn't matter how great your product is or how good the rest of your ad is. If the headline doesn't attract your prospect to stop and read it, none of the rest matters. Its primary purpose is to get your prospective customer to read the rest of your ad. Its secondary purpose is to attract the interest of your specific target market and to repel the people who aren't interested in your product. To stand out from the crowd. 8 out of 10 will read the headline if it stands out. Your headline can increase your response rate by 100% or more, and I'll show you more about that later when we're talking about measurement. The headline will make them decide whether to read the rest of the ad, and the more relevant your headline is to them, the more likely people are to notice it and act on it. So it needs to include the benefit to them, the what's in it for me. And relevance to your potential customer is key. So to create a really great headline, one that's relevant to your customers and one that will stand out and make them read on, the first thing you need to do is to pick one product or one type of customer. What I'd like you to do now is to think about your absolute favourite sort of customer, the ones that spend more, come in and buy more frequently, complain the least, the ones that are nicest to deal with. I'll give you an example of why this is so important. I was starting work with a client a few years ago, and as we were getting the vision for his business clear, he was very definite about who his best customers were and who he wanted more of. The particular type of customer he'd identified came in more frequently and they spent more, and yet all his ads used pictures and text aimed at a completely different age group. It wasn't that he didn't know the type of customers he needed to take his business forward once I'd asked the question. It was more that he hadn't realised that he needed to tie all the pieces of his marketing together. This can often happen when salespeople come to you with opportunities that look attractive. But when you're busy running a business, you often don't have the time to really work out about whether that opportunity actually meets your business goals. So the point I'm making here is that a good goal for advertising successfully and profitably is to start by advertising precisely to the people you'd most like as customers. So rule 1 is to specialise. Use your ad for one customer type. Don't try to sell everything to everybody. It means that your ads will end up being bland, and you don't want to be bland. You want to stand out from the rest, not be part of it. And rule 2 is to pick your best customers and start by advertising just to them, so you get more of the same great customers. At this stage, some people ask, what about the other customers, the ones that might come in if I tell them everything I do? And my answer is, once you've mastered bringing in the most profitable customers, then you can spend time attracting the more marginal ones. It's all about using your resources in the most effective way, using the Pareto principle or 80-20 rule to attract the 20% of customers that will produce 80% of your future revenue. So do you have an image of your favourite sort of customer? If you can identify them in terms of age, sex, where they live, in a particular type of house, or whether they drive a particular sort of car, Those things help define how and why your customers buy and what you need to say to them to take them through the buying process. Why not pause this video for a moment and take a minute to just write down who your ideal customer is and why in the spaces on your worksheet. Welcome back. If you're having difficulty with the people themselves as they don't seem to fit a stereotype, try thinking about the product or service you sell most of and what people say about why they're buying it. Once you're clear about your customer, next think about why they buy your product. What do they get out of it? What do they have when they've used your product or service? I'd like you to jot that down too. What we're looking for here is not that you offer hedge trimming, for example, but that they have a great looking hedge with the right height all the year round, or a great looking lawn with no dandelions in it. And the point of all these questions is to help your ad stand out from the crowd, to be seen. It's important wherever you advertise, but especially so in the classified section where there's so much competition. If you want to stand out, you need to do something different, and that's what these questions are designed to do, to help you define your uniqueness in the marketplace and why people should choose you. There is a third and final question which will help you create your headline, and that is, why do they buy from you? Do you offer the best price, the best service, nicest people in your premises or on the phone, best guarantee? If you don't know, you can ask your customers. Next time somebody buys your product, ask them, do you mind my asking, what made you decide to buy this here from us rather than from anyone else? In the main, people don't mind telling you how to improve your business. They want you to succeed so they can continue buying from you, and people love giving advice. So ask. The three answers you have from those questions are the basis of what should go in your headline. So let's give you some examples so you can see what I mean. If we start with the gardening company we talked about earlier, now they may have two types of service they offer, such as, say, hedge trimming twice a year and a weekly lawn cutting service during the summer months. So to make the ad relevant to the people that are likely to want hedge trimming, we need to put something about hedges in the headline. If someone has decided that they really need to get their hedge cut and are thinking about getting it trimmed by someone else, your ad will really stand out from all those which just say garden services or have simply put their name at the top of their ad. Same thing for a weekly lawn cutting service. If that's one of your more profitable services and you've decided that's a service you're going to focus on, use the words lawn cutting in the headline to make your customer realise that you do the thing they're looking for. Again, it will make your ad stand out from all those with just a company name at the top. The job of the headline is to catch their attention and make them read the rest of your ad. There are a couple of examples in the type of headline our garden services company might use for each service on the screen now. To get the most impact from your ad, it's really important to use the keywords in your headline. Now, keywords are the words or phrases your potential customer has in their head when they're thinking about the problem they're facing, the one which your product or service will fix. Here, as you can see, we've used hedge in both headlines and lawn in both headlines. Often when people are looking through the classifieds, they have a problem or a need of some sort, and they want something that will resolve that problem. Your job is to work out what your prospective customer is thinking right before they decide to call from the classifieds and use those terms in your ads. That's how you get noticed. Now, although some people may be thinking, I need XY gardener to come and do my hedge, I need their phone number, most of your ideal customers will be thinking, I need my hedge cutting. Who can I get to do it? And if your ad answers that problem and that question, it makes it a lot easier for them to decide to call you. Before we move on to the next example, I just want to make a special note about the word offer that's in the first headline, hedge trimming offer. Offer is a great word, along with free. Free is another great word for headlines. Both make people take note because they think they're going to get something extra. However, there are a couple of points about offers you should be aware of. Your offer can be, but it doesn't have to be, a monetary discount. It could perhaps be, in this case, a free plant. Or if you have suppliers who can give you samples of a relevant product for free, then it can be a sample of something that would be useful to your customer. I've included another example of how this might work in the workbook that goes along with this course. Another way of making an offer is to offer something along the lines of, if you pay me to cut your hedge, I'll cut your grass for free. Or if you buy these tiles, I'll give you 20% off your grouting. That encourages the customer to realise how nice it is to have their grass cut for them, and may encourage them to pay for that service in the future, or it may encourage them to just buy those tiles from you straight away. Making an offer like this can sometimes cost a bit more to get the customer in the first place, but it's important to remember that if you fulfil their needs well, they'll hopefully become a customer for a long time. So it can be valuable to think through how much they're going to be worth to you over the longer term and recognise how much you can afford to spend to get them on board in the first place. I'll be talking more about how this works in Module 5. I wanted to include a second example for you because often the more case studies you see, the more you understand how you might use this kind of format in your own ads. In this case, I've chosen a nail salon where you go to have your nails painted professionally. This kind of salon always has premises and needs to attract customers on a daily basis. Now, a nail bar might have two very different sorts of customers. The first might be teens and 20s, where you might go for glamorous nails for a Friday or Saturday night out, the sort of nail decoration that will get you noticed. The second might be businesswomen who need a more sophisticated look. They very definitely would not respond to the same type of advert. Let's take a look. So the headlines for these two very different types of customer need to be tailored to their specific needs. As a business owner, you'd of course be talking to your customers, and you would use in your ads the same sort of language your customers use when talking to you about your product and how it meets their needs. We're basically looking for the language that they use when they're feeling good about the purchase they've just made. For our nail bar owner, if they decided that their primary target were the young women who want their nails done to attract attention on a Friday night at the nightclub, they might go for headlines such as, "Get your nails noticed," or maybe, "Awesome nails, be different." On the other hand, for the businesswomen clients, the focus would be on the workplace and how the look of their nails might alter how their bosses or customers think of them. So maybe, "Perfect nails for work," or possibly, "Do your nails give the right impression?" You'll notice that in these examples, the word nails appears in every headline. The thing to remember is that people scan ads and in the main ignore anything that's difficult to understand or that they have to work out. So keep it simple, use your headline to tell them what you do and how they'll benefit. A couple of extra points worth mentioning. You'll have noticed that I used capital letters for the first letter of each word. This is because research shows that the response rates to ads increases when you do this, as opposed to using one capital letter at the beginning of the headline and using lowercase for the rest. And the second point is the use of questions in the headline. Questions can be powerful as they attract attention. We're somehow hardwired to answer questions. Something to do with our schooling, I guess. But if you ask the right question, people will tend to answer it in their heads. And once they've done that, you've got their attention, which is what a headline is supposed to do. Hopefully these two sets of examples will help you work out the type of headline you might use for your own particular product or service that you've decided to prioritise. If you haven't found your headline yet, let's have a look at some extra questions you could be asking yourself about your product or service or your customers, which should help. Your headline doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to attract attention. And these questions will help you dig a little deeper. The most important word, the secret to finding your headline, is to keep asking what and then why. So the questions are, what do you do for your customers? What do they get out of it? And why does that help them? What is the problem you solve for your customers with your product or service? If you can identify their big problem, that in itself might be a good headline. And the why is that important to your customers? What is the outcome for them once they've used your product or service? What can they do that they couldn't do before they had it? And why is that good for them? What do you do better than your competitors? And why is that good for your customers? How do they feel after they bought from you? Who do they tell and what do they say? Why do your customers buy from you rather than from anyone else? Do you provide superior value? How do you do that? Is it different across different products or different types of customer? What are your benefits, not your features? For example, you sell hardware bathroom tiles in 40 colours. That's features. The benefit to your customer is that by using your tiles, your customer will have a stylish, modern, easy to clean bathroom that they can be proud of, and that's the benefit. Or another example, say you sell wine from 80 countries around the world, that's a feature. The benefit to your customer is that you can help them select a wine to perfectly accompany the type of food they're planning to serve. Okay, so that's how to develop a headline. In your workbook, we've included an extra sheet for you to answer those questions. Please try using it. It does help get your thoughts in order, which will make developing a headline much easier for you. Now, during this training, I'm going to create a couple of ads for you so you can see how all this fits together, and we'll start with a headline. The average classified ad size is about 75mm by 50mm, 7.5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. So that's the size I'm going to work to here. Of course, if you can afford bigger ads, you could expand on the headline and explain more about why your benefits are good for the customer, why they should buy from you, or you could possibly, depending on space, also allay some of the concerns they might have about buying the product at all. And possibly you could include why they should buy it from you. But for this presentation, and because it's important to get the principles we're covering here, and especially in this classified ad size, we'll stick to making the most out of the space in this particular size of ad. I've put the red frame around the two ads so you can see how they work on the page. You don't necessarily need a frame and it doesn't need to be red. I've only put them in so you can see the space we have available. For the moment, all the text will be in one typeface. I'm using Corbel and it will be in black. Once we get to the testing module, I'll give you some ideas on how to use different elements to make your ad stand out and how to get even better responses. The first ad we're doing here is for the nail bar. It's the young women customers. The other ad on the gardening theme is on the right. I talked about that earlier. So, for the one on the left, I've gone for a headline which should get any woman who wants her nails to be noticed to spot it in the crowd. On the right, for the gardening company, you'll notice I've gone for hedge trimming offer. Just for the record, these headlines aren't rocket science. They simply state what I'm offering in terms of what's in it for my potential customer. And if these headlines attract their attention and make them read the rest of the ad, they've done their job. This is the end of the module on headlines. Hopefully you now have some clearer ideas about your own. If you haven't already done so, I strongly recommend that you download and print out the workbook that goes with this course and complete the sections on deciding the product to advertise and your headline. For the next section, on something that is often missed in classified ads, please start Module 3.